In today's Leeds news, fans showed up at Bamford's house, under-18s into Youth Cup quarter-final, Leeds FA Cup opponents, 49ers investors revealed. Hiya folks, Jer here on Thursday the 8th of February with your Leeds United news. Hope you're having a good week so far, hope your days are going well. And I had a nice morning. There's some interesting stuff to get to, some really shocking stuff to get to as well, and we'll get into that. We've got some details on the Patrick Bamford situation from last year, as he's been speaking about it finally, and also a list of the 49ers investments, or at least the sports element of the 49ers investment, but we'll get to that in a minute. I've tried to put their net worths together and compare it to Premier Leagues to give everyone a kind of a understanding, from a net worth perspective at least, of where we are and where we might be should we get back to the Premier League. But we'll start off with the Patrick Bamford one. It's probably a tough one to start off with because it's very hard to pick up the happiness after this story, but speaking on his podcast, My Mate's a Footballer, Patrick Bamford has finally opened up about the abuse that he received last season, and in one particular case after the Newcastle game when fans turned up at his home. He said, and the Athletic has run the piece on this, and what they basically said is Bamford had deactivated his Twitter account a couple of weeks earlier due to the level of abuse that he had received on his Twitter account. And it wasn't just him, he had personal threats against himself. His partner had received personal threats, and there were personal threats made against his daughter as well, which is incredibly shocking to hear that out loud. Leeds ultimately ended up getting relegated after defeats to West Ham and Tottenham Hotspur in that season last year. On the podcast, Bamford said that his partner had phoned him after the Newcastle game to say that there were several people outside his house and hadn't moved for about 20 minutes. Pat went on to say that as he got to his home, there were two cars blocking his driveway and he couldn't get in the gate. His father ultimately opened the gate to let him in and he got through, but he said as he drove past, both cars with people in them had their windows down and they just stared at him as he went in. He said there's an intimidation factor to that as well, which just isn't okay. They'd been around the house. They drove off ultimately when he went inside the house, but he spoke to the club. And basically the club put security on his house. He had cameras installed. He had 24-hour security outside the gate of his house as well, which, just shouldn't happen. It's football, for God's sake. It's nuts. Bamford said that this was all the culmination of the previous few weeks' performances, and he said he'd received a lot of flack, rightly or wrongly. How it was expressed was crazy. Another piece of this is interesting. He said he spoke to the sports psychologist at the club who basically asked him how he was feeling about things. And he said he wasn't upset by this, but he was really angry about it, which is very understandable as well. And he said the club were brilliant. They put security in place for him. They helped him as well. But he said, how does he explain this to his daughter when there's security outside of his house all the time? And he's a footballer. It's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I watched a Leeds United YouTuber last year have an absolute meltdown on one of his videos about the fact that Leeds had hired sports psychologists and what kind of a club were Leeds turning into hiring sports psychologists. It was a crazy rant to actually witness. And the problem with that was every club, or big club around the world, have a team of sports psychologists. You get the level of abuse these players are getting online. And this is my take on it. I have no problem criticising footballers or anybody when it's professional and it's about the performance or about the game. When it gets personal, you've already lost the argument. You've completely lost the argument. When you turn up at somebody's house, it is a low level of a person who does that kind of stuff, and it shouldn't be excused. They should be found. They should be banned from the club. It's appalling behaviour that kind of stuff going on. Threatening a child is disgusting. And if anyone who has kids themselves, it's just not okay. It's really just not okay. I found this really hard to read. If you can't criticise a performance without making it personal, then don't criticise it at all. It should always be about the game and only the game. It should never get personal. There's a lot of people online who go out of their way to have personal digs at players on a consistent basis. And it's just wrong. In my opinion, it's completely wrong. Sorry, bit of a rant there, but it makes the club look bad. It makes the entire fan base look bad. And it's a small, tiny, guttural portion of a fan base, if you can call them fans at all. I wouldn't, but there you go. It's shocking behaviour. And now we try and pick this up and talk about the other stories, which is going to be a bit tough, but we'll try. The under-18s last night played in the FA Youth Cup, and this is always a really good metric to know what quality of youth players we've got coming through. A good run in the FA Youth Cup, and we've seen it with Leeds teams in the past, going back to the team that David O'Leary ultimately had as his basis of his team had come through a Youth Cup. Likes of Stephen McPhail, Ian Hart were in that team as well, amongst others as well. This looks like a really good side. They progressed to the quarterfinals and will face Liverpool after a 1-1 draw that ultimately finished in a 5-4 penalty win for Leeds. Sheffield United missing 2 penalties, saves by Rory Mahady, who was excellent. Leeds did go 1-up through a lovely goal from Marley Wilson. Excellent work on the wing, cut inside, chipped across, and a kind of an overhead kick from Marley Wilson into the bottom corner. Lovely goal. Sheffield United equalised through another excellent goal, a long range effort to fill in the bottom corner. And then the penalties, Josh McDonald scored the last penalty for Leeds, and after that Rory Mahady made an excellent save to put Leeds into the quarterfinals. Should be pointed out, Josh McDonald, Marley Wilson and Rory Mahady were excellent in the game as well, and Rory Mahady looks like a proper talent as a goalkeeper emerging as well, so one to keep an eye on there as well. The Leeds will face Liverpool, as I said, in the quarterfinals, and Leeds will have home advantage, whether that's played in York or whether that's played at Thorpe Arch or whether it's played in Elland. You would imagine it's been played in Elland Road, but we'll get more detail on that as and when it comes. Speaking of FA Cup situations, Leeds will now know who they will face in the 5th round of the FA Cup after Chelsea's 3-1 win against Aston Villa last night. Leeds will travel to Stamford Bridge to face Chelsea in the 5th round of the FA Cup and move on. Hopefully move on with that one, a game that I'm sure lots of fans will be looking forward to getting to as well, so that'll be an interesting one. Looking forward to that. Of the two teams, I think I would have preferred Chelsea. Their inconsistency. You know, my brother's a Villa fan. I would have probably gone to the game with him, but yeah, I think the inconsistency of Chelsea means you've got to crack at this. You know. The other main story today, and an interesting one, as I said, I tried to put as much detail together on this as I can. I've taken the story from Yorkshire Evening Post and Leeds Live as well, but I've added a bit more to it. So basically, a list of the sports stars who have invested in Leeds United and the 49ers enterprises was revealed yesterday as well. So what I've tried to do is find out who they are, what they do, and how much they're worth. So we'll get to this. The main one that's been pointed out is Michael Phelps, the 28-time Olympic medal winner. He shared some posts at the weekend of his 2 boys wearing Leeds United shirts and a positive message sent to the Leeds team after the result of the weekend as well. He's kind of the poster boy, but not the most wealthy of all of them, and it's really interesting to get into this. So what I've done is I'll list these out. We'll do a rapid fire like we do at Lone Watch. I'll tell you who they play for, what they do, the net worth of each of them, and then at the end I've got a combined net worth of them and the York family compared to Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea as well, just to give you a comparison if we do get back there, what it will look like. And it's only a comparison, a bit of fun, but we'll see how it goes. We'll move on. Let's start with this. Michael Phelps, who's a 28-time Olympic medal winner, who was valued a net worth of an estimated $100 million. Justin Thomas, who's a 2-time golf major winner, is valued at $50 million. Jordan Spieth, a 3-time major golf winner, is valued at $110 million. Larry Nance Jr., one of the more public faces of this, plays for the New Pelicans in the NBA and is valued at $15 million. TJ McConnell, also in the NBA, Indiana Pacers player, he's valued at $5 million. Andre Iguodala, who is a former Golden State Warrior NBA player, is valued at $80 million. Miles Jack, a former Steelers, Eagles and Jags player in the NFL, is valued at somewhere between $5 to $7 million. Joe Staley, who is an ex-San Francisco 49ers player in the NFL, is valued at $12 million. Gabe Landeskog, who plays for the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL, is valued at $63 million. He's a Swedish player as well. Russell Westbrook, who plays for the LA Clippers, former LA Lakers NBA player, is valued at $375 million and is the 14th richest sports star globally. And Eric Johansson, who is a Buffalo Sabres NHL player, is valued at $42 million. Put this into context. This is just the sports stars. Their combined net worth is $859 million. The York family, who own the 49ers and are the major partner behind the 49ers enterprises, their family's net worth is $5.97 billion, according to Forbes. Put this in comparison, Manchester City's ownership, they are valued at around $17 billion. Liverpool owners' net worth is valued at around $5.1 billion. And Todd Bowley, who owns Chelsea, he is valued with a net worth of $6.1 billion. When you put the sports stars and the York family's estimated net worths together, not that means that money's in the club, by the way. That's just their net value and what they've got, money they've got. Combined, they're worth $6.82 billion. So their net worth is more than the Liverpool ownership, their net worth is more than the Chelsea ownership, and the net worth is just about half of what the Manchester City ownership is as well. So it's positive news if Leeds do get back to the Premier League. There are not only some major hitters here in terms of finances, there's also some serial winners here as well, and players that won't be investing in losing franchises or sports teams. From their perspective, a lot of these players are big time winners and have won an awful lot in what they do, so they will want to be involved in a winning club. There's a competitive nature of sports stars as well, which will add to that. So that's just give you a little bit of an insight into that. It's an interesting one. I thought I'd share it with you. And that's going to be it for me today, folks. Have a cracking rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow morning for the final one of the week. There might be a preview tonight as well. Myself and Stats are going to try and do a live stream tonight to preview the weekend's game as well, so you can check that out this evening. Talk to you later on. Thanks. Bye.